Okay, so finding the slope of a line. I know we covered this in Algebra 1 and Geometry, but I like this review because we need to keep thinking of slope as a rate of change and remember how to find that. So this box right here talks about the slope m of a non-vertical line is the ratio of a change in something to the change in something else. So it's the ratio of the change in x, or the change in y, as the rise, to the change of x. So you think rise over run for slope, okay? So in algebraic terms, it would be y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And if you can, always think of your slope as a fraction, okay? Because y2 minus y1, that concerns the rise, whether this line is increasing or decreasing, going up or down, and then the run, you read from left to right. So a quick review of how to find slope. The slope of a line that passes through the points 1, 3, and 6, 7 would be me taking that slope formula. y2 minus y1 would be 7 minus 3 over x2 minus x1, 6 minus 1. So the slope of that line would be 4 over 5. And I'd want you to keep that as a fraction. Don't change it to a decimal, because slope is much easier to read and to plot when it's a fraction. Next, the way we classify lines by slope, the whole reason we have slope is so that we can describe what a line is doing. Is the line rising, falling, horizontal, or vertical? So we always read graphs from left to right. That tells us whether the line rises from left to right, falls from left to right, whether it is horizontal. See if I can fit that. Horizontal, or it is a vertical line. Okay? And the way you think about this, you can always think about this in terms of rise over run. So when you think about positive slope, the rise is positive over a positive run. That results in a positive. Negative slope, you've got a negative rise over a positive run. That makes that slope negative. With zero slope, the way I describe this is that zero slope, you have no rise, a rise of 0, over an infinite run. So that results in a slope of 0. And then with undefined slope, you have an infinite rise. It's rising infinitely with no run at all. So that's why vertical slope is undefined. Okay? So you think about, you get 0 on the bottom, that is a vertical line. You get 0 on the top of your slope, that is a horizontal line. So moving ahead, and I'm going to zoom this in a little bit. So let's zoom and let's look at classifying lines using slope. So we're just using that formula still, but then we're telling whether that line rises, falls, is horizontal, or is vertical. So to find the slope of this first line, y2 minus y1, 3 minus negative 2. Run, 1 minus negative 6. So 3 minus negative 2 is 5. 1 minus negative 6 is 7. So that slope is 5 over 7. It is a positive slope. So this line would rise. It rises from left to right. And a quick sketch of what that line might look like. A line that's increasing from left to right. So a line that rises. As for B, y2 minus y1, 2 minus negative 1 over 2 minus 2. So that becomes 3 over 0, if you try punching that into your calculator, it's going to give you that this is undefined. So an undefined slope means that that line is vertical. That line runs straight up and down, north to south, vertical. Okay, vertical. So next, I'd like you guys to try some guided practice. Take a minute to pause the video. When you replay it, I'll wait a few seconds, and then I'm going to get into the solutions to both of these guided practice problems. All right, so for this guided practice, I did 9 minus 2 is y2 minus y1. That was 7. On the bottom, I did 7. I'll do a little bit better job of that. 7 minus 4, which is 3. That slope is positive, so this line rises. Next, number 2, this line, I take 4 minus 2, y2 minus y1, 1 minus negative 3, I get 2 over 4. I simplify that to be 1/2. That line also rises because the slope is also positive there. And then the last example I go through here, I talk about comparing the slopes of lines, all right? So, if two lines are parallel, they never intersect. If two lines are parallel, that means that they have the same slope. Their slopes are equal. Parallel lines have equal slopes. As for perpendicular lines, when we have slopes that are perpendicular, what that means is those slopes are opposite reciprocals of each other. And I'll try to write that a little bit better. Opposite reciprocals of each other. And I know I kind of took out some of this, but I don't really want to show this. As far as an example for opposite reciprocals, think about if I had a line with the slope 3 over 4. The opposite reciprocal of 3 over 4 would be negative 4 over 3. The opposite reciprocal of negative 5 would be positive 1 over 5. So those are opposite reciprocals of each other. Opposite signs, and then the fraction is flipped. The numerator and the denominator are swapped. So, in this next example, I ask you to tell whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So I'm going to find two slopes in this example. So line 1, to find the slope, 5 minus negative 1 over 2 minus negative 3. And that becomes 6 over 5 for my slope. Line 2, for the slope, 1 minus negative 4 over negative 3 minus 3. So that becomes 5 over negative 6. And if we look at that, are they opposites? Yes, they're opposites. Are they reciprocals of each other? Yes, they are reciprocals of each other. So these lines are perpendicular to each other. All right? Those lines are perpendicular because their slopes are opposite reciprocals of each other. So here's a good chance for you to try the guided practice. Again, take a few minutes to pause the video and try it on your own before you check my solutions, because I think that this helps you kind of feel more comfortable doing these problems on your own. So good chance to pause the video and then wait for my solutions. Okay, so for the guided practice here, I got the slope of the first line was 4 over 2, which is 2. For the second line, I got positive 1/2. So when we look at these two slopes, the reason I say neither is because, yes, these slopes are reciprocals of each other. 2.5 are reciprocals of each other, but they are not opposite reciprocals, meaning they are not opposite signs. So that makes this neither. The slopes are definitely not the same, and they are not opposite reciprocals, making them neither one or the other. All right, they're neither. They intersect, but not at a right angle to make them perpendicular. So now you're probably ready for the practice. Make sure you read the directions on which ones I want you to do on the practice, because I am not going to have you do all of the problems. I'm probably going to have you do the evens or the odds.